Good morning, friends, and welcome to Trans India. Real people, real emotions. The automobile industry has been undergoing rapid changes, and while we look at a truck as a whole, we don't care much about what goes inside that truck. However, today we are going to explore the inside of a truck. ZF is one of the leading suppliers of technology solutions and services that are shaping mobility trends in India. ZF is a global technology company supplying advanced mobility products and systems for passenger cars, commercial vehicles, and industrial technology. Its comprehensive product range is primarily aimed at vehicle manufacturers, mobility providers, and startup companies in the fields of transportation and mobility. ZF electrifies a wide range of vehicle types. With its products, the company contributes to reducing emissions, protecting the climate, as well as enhancing safe mobility. Alongside the automotive sector, passenger cars, and commercial vehicles, ZF also provides market segments such as construction and agricultural machinery, wind power, marine propulsion, rail drives, and test systems. We had the opportunity to interact with Akash Passey, who recently joined ZF as Group President for the Indian region. Akash has been a veteran in the automobile industry, having spent many years in Volvo buses. In this exclusive interaction, Akash talks about ZF's contribution to the automobile industry, not just in India, but globally as well. So with the automobile industry undergoing massive transformations, let's see what are the plans of ZF globally and specifically in India.
ZF has been a prominent player in the CV space. Tell us first about the global operations of ZF.
So first of all, Grish, very nice to be interacting with you today. And I'm happy that ZF is in focus with your help. I think the world is changing and ZF is playing an important role in it. So ZF today is globally placed, well placed in the automobile industry. It has changed its profile, I would say, from a traditional auto player to more of a technology systems-oriented company over the years. And with this, it has last year touched a revenue of over almost 47.6 billion euro and has over 170 plus facilities or factories around the world with about 168,000 people. Headquartered in Germany, in Friedrichshafen, but of course, like any other global company, spread strongly all across the world and mainly focused then on the automobile and the clean energy sector.
And what are the major product offerings globally?
So I would say that leaving two-wheelers and three-wheelers, ZF is there in almost everything which moves. Whether it is the passenger car industry, which globally is almost 70% of the revenue of the company, very strong presence in the truck and bus commercial vehicle industry, a very strong presence in the windmill sector, where windmill transmissions, which is the main component driving onshore and offshore windmills, is from ZF. And then also all the industrial equipment towards railways, towards defense, towards tractor industry, towards material handling industry, towards industrial drives with large machineries, etc. So I think that overall, anything or everything to do with the automobile sector and the windmill sector is where ZF has globally a very strong position with good, competent, very technology-oriented products. And that is what ZF is about.
Akash, ZF has had deep roots in India as well. So how has ZF progressed in the Indian market?
I would say that ZF has started to play a key role. There are areas where ZF already is a very well-known name and a good contributor in the industry, thanks to our strong customer base in India. So I would say that the presence of ZF is strongest in India when it comes to the commercial vehicle industry. With the large market share, especially with our company ZF CVS, based out of Chennai, a strong presence with all the 4 or 5 key players there in the commercial vehicle space of truck and bus, mainly towards braking systems, a lot of safety equipment, etc. Then we also have, which is not known to most of the people, one of the world's largest plant for windmill transmissions in India, based in Coimbatore. 85% of what we produce is exported to the largest customers, windmill customers around the world. 15% is more or less used for domestic consumption. And we have about 60% market share in the windmill transmissions in India. ZF also plays a strong role for not only India, but also for exporting for axles as well as transmissions for the construction equipment industry. The key players there, which we know the names, customers have been using ZF for a very long time and are prime customers in India. Over and above this space then, there is a scattered presence in the passenger car segment, including the big names which we have. And that is something which we can strengthen, of course, much more. So I would say that leaving two-wheelers and three-wheelers, in all other automobile fields in India, ZF one way or the other is present. We are now, of course, getting also into the railway segment, with the Indian market being the largest for tractors, but of course for small tractors. But with the current tractor manufacturers also exporting or planning to export around the world, that becomes an important market for us. The large factory infrastructure coming in India opens space for us in the material handling segment. And then we have also seen that there is a good move in India with the growing economy towards heavy industrial equipment. And I think that brings our industrial drive division also very much in picture. So all in all, really looking forward to strong growth for ZF in India in the coming years.
So Akash, specifically for the CV segment, what are the main products offering that you have?
I would say that we are quite broad-based in the CV industry, thanks to our customers who have reposed a strong faith in us over the years, and we are building upon that. So, of course, braking systems is what we are very much known for. We have things around now. The movement from traditional products is also moving towards electric. So there are electric products which we are exploring. Could be vacuum boosters, could be parking brakes, could be ADAS, could be the steering systems, because we also have a couple of strong joint ventures out of India with the technology moving in there. The transmission space is changing from traditional start emissions to AMT, where we are and we can play a big role in the future, given the fact that there is a big spread of highways, which of course is always in build. But at this moment, that build, of course, continues, but there is a network now which is there from north to south, east to west, and that is going to bring an impact in the commercial vehicle industry. So I would say that while we already have a broad base in the commercial vehicle industry, there are more things which we wish to bring in, given this change coming. A, with the new highways coming in, therefore need for better safety or efficiency products. Also B, then also with the change coming on the electric side.
Right. Akash, you've been a veteran in the commercial vehicle space. What significant changes have you seen in the last, let's say, 5 to 8 years? Because I think that's where a lot of change has happened.
I think that it's a privilege to have worked a couple of decades now in the automobile industry. Also with a good exposure both to the domestic and the international space. And that does make you see things in a different manner. India has been very traditional in a way, till at least a decade back, and is undergoing a massive change. Globally, there are markets which are very traditional, but there are also markets which are very modern and are very focused on, or quite focused on, highly focused on safety, on automation, on efficiency, on products which are sustainable, etc. So I think that this is the right time, in a way, for large organizations to contribute to the change in India. A couple of factors I mentioned a bit earlier. I think the biggest game changer is the amount of money which has gone into the development of infrastructure in India. This brings us very much in line with the global needs we have. This brings us very much in line with what happens globally. So our product profile now, more and more, we already see it in the passenger car segment. I think that will also happen in the commercial vehicle industry as well as the construction equipment industry. The profile will change to much more modernized products. We see that the government is driving regulations, mainly towards safety, both active and passive. We see that all the OEMs are strongly focusing towards electric as an important force for the future, and therefore wanting not the traditional technologies, but the most modern technologies. They're building plans, not as we read it, not only from a perspective of servicing with efficiency the Indian market, but also having products which can be exported and can play and make a presence around the world. And that makes ZF a very, very strong player. And therefore, I feel that ZF is at the right place, at the right time, to impact the industry in the coming years in a positive manner and contribute in its own small way to our key customers around India.
Akash, with the infra growing, there's a lot of, safety is lacking somewhere in India. People don't take accidents very seriously. How does ZF look at it, and do you develop products with a safety angle to it as well?
I think that starting from the very top, from the board of management of ZF in Germany, safety is a way of life. Efficient technology products are a way of life. So sustainability is a way of life. ZF in itself has taken very strong targets in each of these areas, which are much more stronger than what is generally signed up at the United Nations level on the globe. And I think that shows that ZF gives a very serious view to these areas. And similarly, this percolates very much down in India. You rightly said, coming from the OEM industry myself, we have one of the largest accident rates in India. Loss of life is one of the highest. So these are things which can change. I must say that over the last 10 years, I see that the government has good focus on safety, and they are pushing the agenda. The focus is not only on seeing what can be and cannot be done in India. The focus is very much seeing that whatever we have on safety is of global standard. And we have seen that there are needs for seatbelts coming in, there are requirements now coming in for some already in place, more coming in for airbags. We see that the braking systems are getting much better. We see that the steering systems are changing from normal manual to dual pinion, etc. We see that digitization is playing a big role. Telematics has started to add value, which was not the case 4-5 years back. So there is an all-round change happening in India. And I think that next 5 years will be the defining moment. And the good part is that since ZF has a strong play in India with traditional technologies because of our very important customers spread across different automobile segments in India, ZF also has a very, very strong play around the world with the global customers. And therefore, we as ZF India have access to all kinds of technologies. And we can feel already that most of our key OEMs in different spaces, be it pass cars, be it commercial vehicles or the construction equipment, to give a few examples, are coming in and wanting to set up and move over to new technologies, and not only new efficient technologies, but also those technologies which are in line with what is being used in the world.
We will continue our interaction with Akash after this very short break. You are watching Trans India, real people, real emotions.
क्या आप जानते हैं एक ट्रक ओनर के लिए सबसे मुश्किल काम क्या होता है? अपने ट्रक के लिए रिटर्न लोड खोजना।
पर अब ट्रैकेट ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट ने इसे आसान कर दिया है।
वो कैसे?
ट्रांसपोर्ट मार्केट टाइम पर ट्रैकेट ऐप में आए हुए लोड पर अपना बेस्ट रेट भेजें, माल की डिलीवरी की डेट और टाइम सिलेक्ट करें और सबमिट कर दें, और ऑर्डर कंफर्म होने पर व्हीकल असाइन करें। है ना आसान? तो देर किस बात की? प्ले स्टोर ऐप पर टाइप करें TRAKET ट्रैकेट और डाउनलोड करें ट्रैकेट ऐप।
स्कूल बच्चों का दूसरा घर होता है और इस घर का ख्याल रखना एक प्रिंसिपल के लिए आसान नहीं। पढ़ाई के साथ बच्चों का आराम, उनकी सेफ्टी, छोटी से छोटी चीज़ मेरी प्रायोरिटी है। वैसे ही स्कूल बस चुनना भी एक बहुत बड़ा डिसीजन था। पेरेंट्स का पीस ऑफ माइंड, मैनेजमेंट का भरोसा और बजट साथ लिए चलना पड़ता है। इसीलिए कभी कभी फर्म भी बनना पड़ता है। आखिर कोई अपने बच्चों की जिम्मेदारी मुझे दे रहा है तो कोई बजट की। लेकिन इतने सालों में एक चीज समझ आई है, अगर सही डिसीजन लें तो सबसे ज्यादा प्यार भी प्रिंसिपल को ही मिलता है।
चुनिए महिंद्रा क्रूजियर स्कूल बसेस। यह है मजबूत ट्यूबुलर स्ट्रक्चर, एंटी लॉक ब्रेकिंग, एंटी रोल बार, पैराबोलिक सस्पेंशन, IMAX, वाइडर सीट्स और बेस्ट इन क्लास माइलेज के साथ बच्चों के लिए सेफ और बाकी सब के लिए सबसे स्मार्ट चॉइस महिंद्रा क्रूजियर स्कूल बस।
Welcome back to Trans India. Real people, real emotions. We are in conversation today with Akash Passey, President ZF Group, India region.
Akash, truck drivers is shortage of truck drivers, in fact, is something which is a global phenomenon now. So when ZF is designing its products, be it the braking systems, being the steering systems, is the driver somewhere at a part of these developments?
I think driver plays a very important role, especially for a company like ZF, which is, and first let me say that even if we are a multinational, even if we are a global player, we are very Indian. Because sometimes this question comes up where people say, oh, you're a multinational, therefore you may not understand what our requirements are sometimes. I still see, which I'm very surprised, but there are forums sometimes once in a while where you get these questions, and then I try to tell them, well, with 18 manufacturing facilities in India, with 10 technical centers, with 16,000 people, each of them being an Indian, and on top of that, 10,000 crores turnover in India, what can be more Indian than this?
How much more Indian can you get?
So coming back from that aspect, I think driver is extremely important, especially, let's say, in the passenger car industry from a safety perspective, in the commercial car industry from safety as well as from a commercial value standpoint, because trucks are what transmit your goods from one place to another. Globally, in developed markets, you know more than me that the operating cost of a vehicle, the most expensive component in it is the driver, if I may say. 60 to 65% of the operating cost is the salary of the driver. And when you have a situation like that, the designing of a product has to be keeping the driver in mind, so that how can you get the maximum efficiencies from when the driver is driving? How can you make the driver, that the driving is fatigueless? How can you place components in such a way which are easy to operate, which are easy to access, and so on and so forth. So driver is very much in mind, and there are a lot of things we do around drivers, because our braking systems, our steering systems, I would say that the telematics, again, governing and helping a driver to drive efficiency. Our softwares which control the vehicle are also access points for the driver. So for ZF, driver plays a key role, not only for the fact that it is about safety, not only for the fact that it is about efficiency, not only for the fact that It is a very important part of the overall operational cost. But I mean, driver is the captain or the pilot of the plane or the vehicle, and therefore I think driver is one of the most important areas which we focus on when we design anything. And of course, designing is not alone. I mean, we are here to meet the needs of what our OEMs want. So of course, the basics start from there, and based on that, we try and give them products which fit in well, which meet their needs, because everybody does not have the same needs. So it certainly is about the driver, but it is also very much of what angle is which customer coming in from what role and what they want us to deliver.
Right. Akash, you've been in this segment for a long time now, the CV segment. Do you somewhere believe that drivers have been a neglected lot, even to date?
I think it's an evolution. It's the evolution which we go through as a country, from, let's say, underdeveloped to developing, and today in a lot of aspects already in a number of areas being in line with what a developed country does, and in some areas, whether it is software or AI or others, even doing things better than what is done in the rest of the world. So it's a matter of evolution. And I think this is an evolution which we are going through. Your question can, of course, always be that in the space of driver, has that change been fast enough? Maybe not. The change could have been faster, but the change is certainly happening. I think that in my own experience, of course, working with ZF and connecting with our OEMs, but also being in the OEM space earlier for 2 decades and interacting directly with customers, the operator owner today thinks more also keeping the driver in mind. I think that's the biggest change. This was not natural earlier.
True.
Earlier it was about, will, let's say, the product in the CV industry, let's say truck, get me from point A to point B, how fast it can get me there, can it get me there reliably, and can it be, fuel was the most important component, even today probably remains so, and can it get me there with the best mileage on fuel or fuel efficiency. Today I think there is another dimension to it, and that is the driver. The products are becoming more modern, and therefore if you have an efficient driver, if you have a motivated driver, you see that logistics, with the competition coming in this sector, the cost of logistics, which we all know is probably one of the highest in India and the world, and the government is very much working to bring it down to a sustainable level along with the industry. Every percentage matters. And that is where I think the driver matters. So the driver is in focus. Is all done? No. It's a good move that we will have a better driver environment, let's say at a certain stage when the cabins are air conditioned. The power steerings move to the next level generation of what a driver comes. The safety features are getting added on, whether it is ESC, whether it is ADAS, whether it is digital support to the driver. I think they are making life easier for the driver. There's still a long way to go. And sometimes, if I may say, there is a feeling that it's a role of an OEM to make everything easy for the driver. And I agree with that view, but I think that's just one single component. Because first of all, is the driver himself. Is he or she motivated enough to drive the truck in the most efficient and the safe manner on the road? That is question one. The second dimension is, of course, the OEM dimension. But the third dimension is, how are the roads? How smooth is the driving conditions which way they drive? Are there rest points on the way where the driver can stop and take a breath or wait for some time before going in this? Are there regulations in place that they need to rest after a certain number of time and they can't drive more than that? Are there regulations in place that these are the timings when they should not be on the road, or are there regulations where on these certain times when you have the highest accident rate, let's say early morning or twilight in the evening, what can be done? So I think change is coming, much more needs to be done, a lot has happened, but the components there are contribution from different parts of the industry and not just one part of it.
So Akash, we spoke about driver comfort, and one of the products that you build is automatic manual transmission.
Right.
Do you see that picking up to provide the driver lesser fatigue so he can drive for longer number of hours, less gear change shifts? Do you see that picking up?
I think it's a very good question, and the obvious answer is yes. And let's go back to our own case. When I was very young as a child, there were only two options. Let's say if I go for a moment to the passenger car segment, a Fiat or an Ambassador. Yeah? The gear used to be on your next to the steering. Those are the ties you remember. Yes. When your family car used to come, you had to go out somewhere to put an air conditioner. And the air conditioner was this big a box. It used to cover everything on the dashboard more or less. Yeah? And then half the time it would not work if you gone on a very long drive because the radiator would get yeah. So I'm sorry, but
we've seen those days.
Yeah, we've seen those days. So and look where we've come. Nobody is questioning today in the passenger car segment whether the car should be air conditioned or not air conditioned. It is air conditioned. Whether it should have a power steering or no. We've driven cars without power steering. In a way, there's nobody questioning now anymore whether it should be only manual transmission or automatic. It's only a matter of time, I see, in the passenger car segment where there would be hardly any manual transmissions left, which you can already find in big cities. Nobody goes, the biggest fan also doesn't go for manual transmission. So I think we have seen that change. And I think that for me, if I can correlate that to the commercial vehicle industry, that is exactly what is happening. Highways are ready. We see that there are some logistics players who have put in very modern equipment in terms of trucking, where they run the trucks for 22, 23 hours, which means it is possible to do that. And if that is possible to do that, that demand will come to each OEM to be able to give a product which can work that much. And that would mean the driver has to be, and it would never be a single driver, it will be a dual or a three-driver concept, which also in a way exists today, but will become even more prominent. And I think that the need for AMT primarily is starting very much from the heavier segment, and especially on the mining side, where on trucking, if I can say, and then also percolating down automatically onto the normal highway trucking and heavier trucks, and then it'll go all the way down. We are, as ZF, already, thanks to some key OEMs, working and on our way, making supplies to selected OEMs for AMTs. We see a lot of interest from the OEMs today to explore AMTs as well as bigger transmissions with the change coming in industry and modernization coming in.
Literally, Akash, being the expert, can you clarify on one thing, and this I hear from a lot of transporters and truckers also, that transmissions like AMT hit the fuel average. How far is this true and to what extent?
Again, a good question. I wouldn't call myself as the best expert, but from what I understand from my experience, from our engineering teams, from our designers, from our experiences out in the market, no. There is no difference or no major difference when you are on an AMT versus a manual gearbox. Because when you have a manual gearbox, it's not only about the gearbox in itself. It's very much about how the driver is driving, when is he making the gear shift, when is the gear selection happening, and so on and so forth. And on let's say AMT, as we go on to automatic transmissions, that gear selection is done with the help of technology. And therefore, it is done in the most efficient manner. So I don't agree with that statement. I think, first of all, most importantly, from a safety perspective, it's very good to have automated transmissions. Number two, from a driver efficiency, it is very important to have automated transmissions. And then comes the third part. It is not the deciding factor when it comes to fuel efficiency. So this is a misconception. It should be removed. And I think together as an industry, along with our customers and OEMs, we should do more to make this known to our community with the operators and drivers.
Do you also think that, with AMT coming in, more women drivers, it will be easier for women drivers also to drive heavy trucks?
Why not? I think let's go to global experiences.
Yes.
There is a heavy shortage today. If you look at the developed world, there are areas, let's say in Europe, where they say they're short by 50,000 odd drivers. And of course, it is not unnatural to find a lady driving there. Yeah? And more, I think that not only with automated transmission, air-conditioned cabins, better braking systems, better steering systems coming in, that will it be easier for women to drive. I also think that change in technology with the electric powertrains coming in is going to make a very big difference and bring it a lot of ease. And I deviate a bit, but I must say that we opened a plant in February in Oragadam in Chennai, primarily focused on commercial vehicle and pass car component business in Oragadam. And the three main things which we as a company with this new plant look forward to is the machining 4.0. Which means that everything is digitized, controlled, efficiencies are at a high level on the manufacturing perspective. Number two is renewable energy. Most of the plant energy will come in from renewable sources, non-fossil fuels, which is, I think, excellent because sustainability is the buzzword for the future, and even there's a need we see in the environment today. And the third is that most of the lines or the factory, the workforce on the assembly line, 80% would be women. So I think if that change is happening there, I don't see any reason today why it would not happen in the trucking or the bus industry. For example, in the bus industry, already electric buses, 30,000 almost have been ordered. They are running in the city, and there are times when you see, it is rare, but you still see women driver going in there with the change in technology coming. So, and of course, diversity is important. I think if we talk to our very big neighbor on the east, if you ask me what is the big difference from a global experience, it is that every man and woman above 18 works there. Our traditions have been a bit different. And that is what is changing. And that is why as organizations, we're pushing diversity. So I am pretty sure that our operator community in the commercial vehicle industry, we can see, today it's very natural. You go on any city road, 30-40% of the time it's a lady which is driving a personal owned car.
Absolutely.
Which is such a pleasure to see. So I don't see that why in the coming years why will we not find women drivers also in the trucking industry?
Akash, the government has been talking a lot about alternate fuels, So while EV is supposed to be the front runner as of now, but there are so many more options. You have LNG, you have hydrogen. Which do you see as the next best option to diesel?
Since I've come back to India over the last 3 years, I don't remember any discussion where this question doesn't come up.
it's a natural given.
And it's not me only as a corporate executive responding to it, I'm sure. Every person worth its salt has got this question and they respond to it. So it's a very,
Because even yesterday, the chatter was, what next? Is it going to be LNG? Is it going to be hydrogen? There's a lot of confusion around, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. If I may say, let me start with another example. I think as an Indian, when you go abroad and start to work globally and take care of businesses globally, in your teams, there is a big change you find. The biggest change you feel that as a manager you need to drive in a developed market with your teams under you is like, okay, let me start from India. I think everybody feels that we should plan more. Planning is something which we are very good at firefighting, but planning needs to be better. Sometimes we feel, why are we making a metro today? Why are we making a bridge today? Similarly, on the automobile side, why are we taking these decisions today? We could have, we could have started a bit earlier and made a much better change without the chaos, as they say, or the firefighting, as they say. So similarly, I say that when you are out there globally managing organizations, well, one of the things you need to make a change is ambiguity. Ambiguity is all about handling change. Yeah, ambiguity is there in the air when you manage businesses, and for us as Asians, it comes naturally. Yeah? That probably doesn't happen in the developed part of the world. They have many other traits, very good on planning, engineering, technical skills, but maybe on the side of ambiguity they can do much better, which is a forte which Asians probably bring in with what they live with from the start. And I think it's a very strong point and a necessary point to have in today's world. And that is where you're coming from, that there is confusion. What should it be? So I think we are living in an era of change. We need to adapt to it. But I must also say, if I can have an opinion around it, that there has been a lot of dialogue also which the government is doing on GVC. Our exports, if we look at for the size of a nation we have, are not as much as they should be. Compared to our eastern neighbor, they are quite low. And that is a change we can add to the world with the new opportunities coming in. And the question always, I think, which I found, which is being discussed and debated is, what comes first? Does scale come first, or does localization come first, as an example? Yeah? And then the 5 examples have been given of 5 top nations who have succeeded worldwide on best exports. And the studies show that if you allow scale to come in first, then you can put in all the regulations in place to localize, because then it happens faster, and that's a much, rather than saying, please bring the most modern thing, but I want it localized from day one. Whether you have the volumes, you can meet the price point or not, but it has to be localized from day one. So I think that is where this question comes in from. While I would say that it is extremely important to keep an eye on all technologies, because we want to be in a fossil-free world. There are carbon emission targets which everyone has, free emission targets which everyone has built, including us at ZF. In India, ICE engines will not disappear overnight, even if our view globally is very different from what is happening in the rest of the world. They are here to stay for a while. On top of that, electric will become more prominent. The government is focusing on that also, we see. We see all our OEMs moving and starting zero-based platforms in India towards electric, which was not the case earlier, which I think is a very positive movement. And when it comes to urban and short haul, we think that electric is a strong force. Okay. And that's why you see two-wheeler, you see three-wheeler, you see buses, city buses. When it comes to long haul, you have ICE already there, and therefore efficiencies are required. Bharat Stage 6 is already in place. But of course, hydrogen probably could be a better option. We already have CNG and ethanol as an option which we could develop further. But over the years, maybe there are other technologies like hydrogen which can, in the long haul, play a much stronger role than what we do today. So technologies are there to stay, but my own opinion is that whatever key steps we have taken with 1 or 2 technologies, we must scale it up, because that is what will become the efficiency. We are a cost-conscious country, I know that as ZF, whatever, if I have to be successful in India, I have to do in terms of technology. I must have local sourcing, I must have localization, I must have local manufacturing, I must have local engineering of the product, and I must have local prototyping and validation of the product. If I don't do that, I am not competent. I cannot live to the expectations of our OEM customers, whom we wish to serve faster and better, and therefore scale is required. And that is my opinion. All technologies will persist, but some of them really, in a certain percentage or a period of time, need to be scaled and should be available in high volume.
Akash, again, there's also been a lot of talk about autonomous trucks. So how do you see that, and how is ZF catering to those trucks?
I have personal experiences from my previous role of introducing electrics and also autonomous buses in Singapore. And there are a lot of learnings from it. And based on that, I would say that if I say on ZF, we are, of course, very focused on autonomous, we focused on connectivity, we focused on electric, so we are focused on AI, we are focused on digitization. So we are very much working with all the modern technologies which are there in the world, because there are traditional technologies which we already are very good with, but we need all these modern technologies at the right level to be able to influence the future for our company, for our customers going in the future. So autonomous is there to stay, but the level of automation will differ. I think sometimes autonomous is read as level 5, where probably, like, without naming some cars which work on themselves or try to work on themselves, I think that level of automation will vary in India or around the world. In India, I see that full automation or autonomous approach will take time, especially in our cities. We don't need to say that. Probably faster on highways. But let's not forget what happens today. I think if you look at the braking systems, if you look at ESC coming on vehicles, if you look at government now putting in regulations for ADAS, if you look at the requirements then coming in areas related to safety, I think in a way each of them are driving automation to a new level. So it will continue, it will keep on coming, one, because of regulatory effort, and number two, because of demands from the customers.
Finally, Akash, how do you see the commercial vehicle sector from here on, and what will ZF be doing to cater to these changes?
If we look at a longer horizon for 2030, it shows that if we have a stable government in place, India will continue to grow at a rapid rate of at least 6 to 8%, if not more. That probably is one of the best growth rates we have, which are coming in the rest of the world. We're already number 1 or number 2 as far as I know. I think with that, our information shows, and it's also evident in the market. I see it from my corner room, open to 2 sides here in Pune at our corporate headquarters, that if you look out of the window, I can see about 8 or 9 buildings coming up within 200 meters of our building. I can see fast work happening on metro on both the sides are open. So India is in a change, and that change will continue. The CV industry also, I think, is changing. We can already feel it from our OEM customers. Highways are ready. There is a efficient demand coming for small, whether it is electric or other products for small distribution inside the cities. Logistics or companies like Swiggy or Amazon, or they have changed the whole game on logistics, and that is going to also then positively going to impact the industry. And as ZF, we have a fairly strong position only on the commercial vehicle size, where not only do we have a strong position domestically, but also strong position on exporting a lot of components and engineering skills out of India, not only for our Indian customers, but also for global customers. We think that we have the right technologies in place on ICE engine side. We think we have the right technologies in place with our strong presence on the electric side, on the commercial vehicle industry. And we are already in touch or working together with our partners and OEMs to give a lot of these technologies and make them available as per customer requirements. So we will play a big role. We will play a big role not only on ICE and electric on the component side, shall also play hopefully to meet the needs of our important OEMs and customers on the CV side for digitization or telematic products, for let's say our full softwares on the products, on electronics, and AI related technology changes which are coming in. We have a strong presence today in the CV segment, and of course we'd like to keep it, but also build on it, especially with the new technologies which are coming in. So that is our foreplay in India. I'm sure our OEM customers for ZF as a very Indian as well as a multinational player expect a lot of technologies from us. I'm sure they expect better speed from a large organization like ZF, which we are working on. And on our side, we are very much aware of these things. So we want to contribute towards our OEMs. At the same time, we want to contribute towards the nation in offering whatever is the best which is there on safety and efficiency and sustainability today. So with this agenda, we look forward to good growth in India over the next 5 to 7 years.
That was our interaction with Akash Passey, and needless to say, that was extremely insightful, not just from the perspective of ZF in India, but from an overall industry point of view. With the changing dynamics of commercial vehicles, ZF is prepared to cater to these changes. With so much going into a truck from ZF, their contribution cannot be undermined. We are delighted with so much of global exposure. ZF has its foot firmly planted in India. We will be back again next week with another interesting interaction. You have been watching Trans India, real people, real emotions. Until next week, stay safe and drive safe. Jai Hind.